I'm Ramona Pascual. I just took out my last opponent in 26 seconds. That is why I'm 100% BMF.
You took your opponent out in seconds in your recent fight in China. Describe that moment to me when you knew victory was yours.
It was super emotional. You know. All the feelings I feel like just rushed over me, you know, with all the difficulty that I faced to get to that moment. And really everything I had to suffer through to get to that moment. And it was just a testament to all the work that I'd put in.
As you said, has been a long and hard-fought journey over 2 years where you was recovering. Why was making a comeback so important to you?
I've had several knee injuries, actually. This would have been my third. As soon as it happened, it was heartbreaking, but I knew from that second it happened that I wanted to come back, because I knew that I wasn't done. I knew that it was worth fighting for, and I knew that I'd be taking this 1 year layoff and all the things that came with it, all the obstacles. But I knew that that was something that would be worth facing because of the goal that I had, and I knew that that didn't change, and I was gonna die trying.
You were en route to being one of Asia's fastest rising MMA stars. At the time, I think you said, one day I was a professional athlete ready for battle, and the next I couldn't even tie my own shoe. I was overwhelmed and I never felt so low. You know, how does one pick themselves back up? What is the road to recovery, that process?
It's really knowing who you are. I think the number one thing that comes with any kind of goal setting, or, you know, any kind of wanting to follow a path and wanting to achieve a dream, is to really know who you are. And is that really your dream? Are you really willing to suffer for it? Because anything worth doing and anything that you want to achieve, like, it's gonna hurt.
In Asia, there is a lack of female representation in the MMA. What more can be done to change that perception?
I think if there's something that you feel strongly about, and this is all your instinct, right? Like, really being in touch with your instincts and that inner voice, you just need to listen to it and give it a shot, you know? Like, maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe it's like kind of not really what you want, and which is fine. But I think regret is the worst feeling in the world, and for me, that was what put me in that desperate point to make that decision, where I was like, oh, it wasn't so much, it was like all these fears of like going for it, right? And so like I knew I had all those fears my whole life. But then that one fear that was like growing louder and louder and louder, that was like regret. And I was like, whoa, I don't want to be sitting there like 35, 40 and being like, oh, you know what? Like watching this on TV, I could have done that.
When you go to an MMA sort of fight, you have to watch the women at the same time as well as men. So when you go to an MMA fight, you have to watch both genders.
Right. So that's the really interesting part about MMA, that, you know, in other sports such as tennis, such as soccer, basketball, you have the women competing on a different day, maybe even a different venue altogether. Whereas in MMA, all the fighters are fight on the same platform on the same fight night. And so in the card, you'll have men fighting and women fighting, and then they'll kind of just be staggered throughout the card. So that's the interesting part, because if you're there to watch the men fight, if you're there to watch this, you know, super hyped up championship fight that maybe has males in it, and there are females on the card, you're gonna be watching those females too, and so we get the same kind of attention.
Good. So I have to ask you, for someone like yourself who constantly face knockbacks, how do you defy that every single time?
It's just grit, you know, knowing what you want, being clear with that intention, and also building habits. Your whole routine, your life routine has to be built around that goal. Because if I'm my peak mental condition, if I'm my peak physical condition, even if I'm not as good as, say, this other person I'm training with, person A, person B, as long as I'm better than who I was before, as long as I'm making progress, like, that's enough motivation really for anyone. And to see like, damn, like I was freaking like that, and then now I'm here. Like, the potential is huge, you know? And then believing that's just gonna compound, that's true empowerment.
Thank you so much for letting us into your story today.
Thank you.